This method is based on 6 principles, which are not just intellectual constructs, but they're really kind of a whole way of looking at yourself and at the world. They really involve basic principles from Buddhist, Taoist psychology like mindfulness, nonviolence, and so forth, and some of the most advanced theories from psychology, like the theory of enactments from Philip Bromberg and others, where people are really looking at how my unconscious is interacting with the client's unconscious all the time. And that when things get triggered in the client, probably things are getting triggered in you too, the therapist. So there's a certain kind of humility and mindfulness about that, about the approach to the work. These things can't really be conveyed in a 2-hour workshop. It's kind of a whole feeling, which takes practice, it takes understanding, and frankly, it takes quite a bit of exposure and just actually trying on the method. Like when you're learning how to ride a bike, in the beginning, you think about it a lot and you're really focused on how do you turn and how do you brake and so forth. In this model, you really want to get a procedural memory of how the work actually works so that this whole notion of approaching a client with mindfulness and exploration and experimentation is a way that becomes natural to you. I also feel like the format of our new training, the online training, is kind of amazing and somewhat encyclopedic. There's like little 8-minute, 7-minute videos throughout where we do little bits of teaching, articles and so forth that are there that, a person can learn a huge amount of information about this method and see videotapes of sessions about them utilizing the method, which really gives the students a good exposure to the feel of the work, to the way we approach working with a client, which is always unique to the method. When you watch the masters in any psychotherapeutic method, there's a whole feeling and approach and understanding that comes through in the way they hold their body, in the way they make eye contact, in the way they use conceptual knowledge and maps to psychoeducate the client. There's a whole kind of feeling to the work. When you add in the notion of mindfulness, it's almost like you enter into a time zone change. The speed at which I'm speaking right now in a conversational tone is much faster than what you would experience if you were actually exploring your internal world and noticing, what thoughts come up with a particular stimulus, what changes in your body, what emotions start to emerge, how does your breath change when you have a certain kind of experience. That kind of mindful exploration, it has its own speed, its own wavelength, and there's always this ongoing connection between the therapist and client where it's just a lot more than just doing a method. There's a lot more focus on how do you be present with another human being? How can you express that presence in your face, in your body, in your eye contact? How can you help them feel that whatever experience they're having, you're open to it and you're open to letting them explore their own dimensions of that without judgment and without kind of a pedantic attitude of, I'm going to show you how to do this better. It's really more in our method a notion of exploring the organization of experience through mindfulness and then experimenting with that organization in ways that feel relevant to you in your life. And actually noticing if the experiments are successful, if you feel like a new body language, a new way of making eye contact, a new relational approach, a new belief, if they actually feel good to you, if they feel helpful to you, if you feel like there's a part of your personality that's more available and expressed in this new kind of body language or emotional expression. So it's really client-centric. And I think that's always felt, much better to me than having the usual approach, which, as in any field where you're paying somebody for their services, there's kind of an inherent feeling of I'm the expert and you're not. And that's why you're paying me. And I really have not felt that is a part of this method. So I think it's really important.